ALPFA. Love all these breakfasts. Homemade granola with mango and yogurt. Wow, delicious. And a mimosa, of course. What else is out there? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Always a chai latte, for sure. Veggie omelets with fruit. Yum. Chocolate peppermint latte. So now what we want to know is, what is your superpower? What is your superpower? Let's hear it. What's your superpower? Covering what makes people tick. Sounds like an FX movie. There must be more superpowers out there. Today we're talking about unleashing your superpowers, so let's have them. Solution finder. Good music. Bringing the energy on. Making people smile. Ravi, I'm trying to understand what you mean by what a way to start. I'm assuming that's like thumbs up if you think it's awesome. Two thumbs up. Excellent. Good job. You guys, at the bottom of your screen, you've got reactions. You can also kind of use some of those. They're super fun. Share the love. Beautiful. So I guess I'm going to ask one more question here, and that question is, can give me one feeling when you woke up this morning. What motivated you to wake up this morning? Jim, this event, excellent. Excited for the event. And those of you guys who haven't got your videos on, switch them on. We want to see all those beautiful faces. Not just names. We want to see beautiful faces because you're all beautiful. Knowing it's Friday Eve, a brand new day. What a beautiful thing to wake up for. Attitude of gratitude there, Mary Warren. I like that too. Positivity, tenacity, and making people laugh. Anissa, beautiful. I need to put on makeup before showing up my video. Run and get the makeup. It's fine. And you're beautiful without the makeup. Trust me. LP. Great to have you.
Okay, we're getting there. We're in the final countdown. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect, Natalie. I think we can still hear the music. There we go.
We can, so.
Laura, can you turn the music off and let's get going.
So, how do we turn that music off?
Laura Camila. There we go. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Well,
Beautiful.
Good evening, everyone. I am Ileana Rojas, Chief Development Officer for ALPFA's Boston chapter, and it's an honor to welcome you to the first of a three-part career development series, where we hope to share with you insightful and actionable tips on how to navigate your job hunting journey, whether you are actively looking for the next role or you're just exploring what a new path could look like. Now, before I introduce our speakers for today, I want to tell you about ALPFA. We're a national nonprofit organization that focuses on providing professional development workshops, career resources, and networking opportunities to our members in order to empower and develop Latino professionals as leaders of character for the nation in every sector of the global economy. Now, we have over 90,000 members nationwide with over 30 chapters, where our Boston chapter is one of the strongest. So if you haven't joined us already, I invite you to do so today, so you don't miss out on the rest of the series, as well as the rest of the incredible events that we have planned for the rest of the year. I also want to take a moment to thank Laura Regus, who's our Director for Women of ALPFA, and who, in collaboration with the Women of ALPFA team and our marketing team, has made this event possible today. So thank you to everyone. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our speakers today, starting with Natalie Spiro from Circle Strategies. Natalie, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Ileana. It's so wonderful to be here with everybody. Before I introduce myself, what I'd love to have you do, we're going to put up a thing called a Mentimeter. It's a poll. And what I wanted to kind of get from everybody is just to understand what word would you use to describe how job hunting feels to you currently?
And the instructions are on the screen. You have to go to www.menti.com and use the code on the screen.
So one word to describe how job hunting feels to you currently. Daunting. I see some people are using their annotate function, drawing lines. Challenging, intimidating. Never ending, long. Keep those words flowing. Like a marathon. Scary. A hobby. It's become a hobby for a lot of people. Clueless. Lost. A matrix. A gamble. Depressing. Okay, so keep those words coming, and while you do, obviously what we want to do today is to really debunk a lot of these feelings, because all these feelings that you've put up here are absolutely representative of what everybody feels like around this topic. So I'm going to take a minute and just introduce myself and then introduce the other speakers who will be helping to debunk this today. First off, my name is Natalie Spiro. I guess in America, I've got to say Natalie. Otherwise, people don't understand my accent. I was born in Israel originally and grew up in South Africa. I came into America, I immigrated here in 2000, and in fact, just became a citizen in October of 2019. So it took me 19 years to get my citizenship. That's a whole nother story. My educational world typically is in organizational psychology and business. My professional experience has spanned 25 years, primarily as an entrepreneur, and in the learning and development arena, the experience design arena, and facilitating multiple events and programs, both live and in the virtual world. My superpower is really connecting through engagement and being a masterful manifester. I actually just added that one recently. And my passions are pretty much most sports, but snow skiing, cycling, anything food and wine oriented. I'm a huge lover of adventures. And the two really that make me most proud was climbing Machu Picchu several years back. And in 2016, I did the AIDS ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, 550 miles. So that kind of puts a smile on my face. So that's me. I'd love to introduce you next to Cliff Watkin.
Thanks, Natalie. Appreciate the introduction. I also am from South Africa and coincidentally work with Natalie, but didn't know her in South Africa. We got to know each other in the United States. But my family is from Russia. My family moved to South Africa, and I was the firstborn in South Africa of the family. We moved to the United States in 1978 to avoid apartheid. And my parents wanted me to be able to get an education in the US and not have to deal with the dangerous civil war and all the terrible things that were going on around us. I went to school here in the US. I studied business, got my master's in business administration. I started out studying computers and technology, but that wasn't for me. And now I'm in human resources, and it was the right choice. I also have professional experience where I have spent the majority of my career consulting and providing training, doing international human resources, doing hands-on human resources. I was a director for 2 Fortune 500 companies. So lots of varied experience, but the majority of it has been in consulting. I didn't want to share my superpower earlier because I am very, very good at shooting hot bacon grease from my wrists to overpower my attacker, and it works really, really well. I do have some pretty serious passions. The most important one is my children. I love doing good, however large and small it is in the world, every day. I love cooking and boxing. And I would have to say my biggest accomplishment was running the 100th Boston Marathon. And I committed this year to do it again, to run the Boston Marathon in April 2022. So I'm going to turn it over to Kurt, who's going to tell us a little bit about himself.
Unmute.
Apologies there. So hi, everyone. I am Kurt Edwards, the founder and CEO of Pixai. A little bit about myself. I am a startup founder at heart, a true entrepreneur. It's my second startup, in fact, both venture-backed. My passion really lies around family and any family-oriented activities. I love sports. I love watching sports. Cliff and I had several conversations about football. Love watching football. Love playing. Former soccer player, played in high school and in college. And to start out, I actually was born in what I consider the best island in all of the Caribbean. And that's an island called Jamaica. Love Jamaican food. One of my passions also is cooking and, of course, eating. My superpower is unfortunately, I can't shoot anything from my wrist. But I love programming, I love coding, and I love just building and working on anything that solves problems, real problems in life. So I do know upwards of 40 programming languages. And when you're passionate about building things and you know that much, I simply can't stop myself sometimes from just writing code. So I do it in day and night. While doing so, I've worked on several systems. I work building systems for government, for some of the top companies in this country, for that matter, and some of the top universities in Boston. In terms of tech and IT recruiting, I've done a lot in that space, and I've learned a lot over the years. Looking forward to sharing some of that with you today. To ALPFA and everyone here, appreciate the invitation, and I really looking forward to sharing in terms of what we learn and expertise with the group here. Thank you all, and now I'll turn it over to Chris.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you for having us here. I joined Kurt as the head of growth and sales over at Pixai. So I'm on this Pixai journey with him as a startup. Origins-wise, I was born to immigrant Korean parents and born in the US and grew up just outside of Washington, DC in Northern Virginia. As for educational background, I studied international politics in college. Mostly civil wars, security, and strategic thought. And as for my professional experience, it comes from an amalgamation of startups in tech and finance in the auto industry, as well as corporate experience in sales enablement operations. Superpower-wise, I know it sounds a little cliche, but it's just being comfortable with change. Have had to deal with that several times over. And so now I'm used to it. So I think that's my superpower. And then passions-wise, I actually practice kendo, which is Japanese fencing. Love impromptu road trips and singing not so well at karaoke. So there's that. Actually, during COVID, I picked up another hobby, rice wine brewing, actually, at home. Favorite brew so far has been infusing honey and lavender into a home brew. It turned out really well. It was like notes of sesame and melon with a light lavender finish. So if you're into that, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn and we can talk about that as well. I'll pass it back over to Natalie.
Thanks, Chris. I definitely want some of that as well. So let's go into some of the meeting protocols just real quick. Co-pilot today is Cliff Watkin with me. Kurt and Chris are also going to be adding some of their input on some tools and techniques. One other thing, video, if we could have everybody on gallery view, that way you can actually see other people's faces, and everyone's got such beautiful faces. Let's just see them rather than not have the video on. If you could turn off your notifications, that would be awesome, just because you have pinging and noise. Cameos are absolutely cool. We often have cats and dogs running across screens and screaming children in the background. That's amazing. Let them come in. The mute and unmute, obviously, if there's noise in the background, just mute yourself and unmute when we're going to ask you, because we will be asking people to share and shout out. So please be ready to do that. Visual cues and annotations. There's, at bottom of your screen on the Zoom, there's a little reactions button. If you like things you hear, please feel free to use those reactions. It's wonderful to get feedback. Feedback's really important for everybody to receive. So that's reactions and emojis as well. Please chat it up. Feel free to kind of when we ask you on chat, if you've got comments, please put in the chat. And if you have a need for bio breaks, I'm trusting that you can all manage those yourself. And finally, I guess the best and most important of all is, if you're having fun, then you're doing it right. So thanks for kind of all of those. We're going to start with our first activity, and it's really to just get to know each other a little better. I hope everybody wasn't feeling like they're going to come here and watch a webinar. We're going to make this pretty interactive and engaging. So what I want you to do is we're going to set you up in pairs in breakout rooms. There's about 72 people, less the people who are here actually presenting. We're going to put you in breakout rooms of 2 in a breakout room. And what we want you to do with each other, we're going to give you a minute each, and you're going to answer 2 questions. What big challenge do you bring to this gathering? And maybe Laura, you can actually just type that into the chat for everybody. What big challenge do you bring to this gathering, and what do you hope to get from and give to this group? 2 questions. You get a minute to share with your partner, and we'll give you a warning at like 30 seconds, and I'll ask you to swap, and then the next partner will take the minute. So decide between you. Maybe you can choose the person to go first should be the person who has their birthday closest to January versus December on the calendar. Okay, so great. We're going to get you into breakout rooms. I know Laura's going to organize those. We can get them going right now. Is everyone in a breakout room?
Either there or on their way. We do have some people who can't join the breakout rooms because they're on their phones.
Ah, okay. So let's give them a 30-second warning, Laura, and then bring them back.
Hold on.
Nat, did you see my chat?
Trying to find it. No, can you send it again?
Just remember to go back to the learning outcome slide.
Oh, did we skip that slide? Okay.
Yes.
That'll come after this, I think.
Correct. Well, it's actually before in the order, but
Okay.
don't forget to go back to it.
Okay. Everyone should be in a room except for the people who are with us and here on their phone. Hello, everyone. And then Natalie, just let me know when you want me to send that.
Just 30 seconds. Have they been a minute yet? I
Well,
think you
yes,
should
but-
swap. Let's swap them out. Let them swap partners. When it's 2 minutes, bring them back.
Do I bring them all the way back?
Bring them back into the main group, and then we're going to do one more round, and you can just do another random mix
Perfect. Just want to make
of
sure.
people. Yeah.
Closing all rooms.
So is everybody coming back?
Yes, people are filing in.
Wonderful.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. All right, we're going to do one more round, and we're going to do the same 2 questions. You're going to have a different person now that you're going to be connecting to. So we're going to assign you to a new breakout room. What big challenge do you bring to this gathering? And what do you hope to get from and give to this group? Same question, different pairs. 2 minutes. We'll see you back in 2 minutes.
Head on to your rooms.
So Ravi doesn't have someone in his room. Maybe you can assign him to another room, or
Yes, I'm doing that now. That's happening quite a few times. It's because people on their phone can't jump into the rooms.
Oh,
Right,
I'm
right,
helping
right,
out
right,
too, Laura Camila.
Thank you.
I'm moving people around too.
Is it 2 minutes up yet?
We clicked close all rooms and they should be on their way back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everyone.
Fantastic. Are we all back?
Give them a little bit more time. All right, everyone's back.
All right, awesome. So just to really quickly in the chat, can you just throw in what was one big aha that came out for you from that exercise? What was the big aha? Just throw a couple of things in the chat. Anyone? One big aha. Very understanding, people understanding about your situation. Difference in interpretation of transferable skills. Lost, unemployment and ageism. Networking opportunities, always great. Empathy, that's beautiful. Technical problems, but we work through them, fantastic. Kindness, bringing kindness. These are all excellent. Thank you so much for sharing and sharing with each other. What I'm going to do now is run through the learning outcomes for today. So, Ileana, if we could have that learning outcomes slide. Beautiful. So what we are going to be doing today is kind of rediscovering who you are and where you want to go. Also understanding what you need from your next role. Looking at what is needed to create your own personal brand and identify what you can do in addition to everything that you've already done. So let's look at the agenda. I'm passing over to Cliff for the agenda.
Great. Thank you. We're going to cover these 4 main topics through, that are listed on the screen right now. We're going to give an overview of what it means, like starting from ground zero. Some of us have never looked at an opportunity to change their job at their current employer in terms of growing and moving to another position. Some of us have never been unemployed and are now unemployed and looking for a job. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're at ground zero. We also want to take a look at what self-evaluation means and how we can self-evaluate us so that ourselves, so we can present ourselves in the right way for the position we're looking for, and we'll help you chart your career path and identify some concepts that you should consider. And then we'll help you create a measured action plan to move forward. We want to just let everybody know that we do have a raffle at the end of the event because we're going to share some tools that are available and we're going to raffle them off to 5 winners. I also want to take a little bit of time to set the stage of where we are at now in the workplace. A lot of us are working from home. A lot of us have had huge transitions in terms of their job and how their job has changed because of COVID. And a lot of people are feeling isolated, and the technology is can be challenging, but it also keeps us very, very connected. And so we want to also let everybody know that there's a lot going on in the workplace as a result of all of this. And this plays into how you think about your next position within an organization or how you think about your next position in a new organization. And the first thing we want to share with everyone is that there's a huge desire to go back to work and communicate and function with people in your workplace like you did. There was a survey that was recently done in March with 500 participants by Seyfarth at Work. They're a large research firm, and they found that remote employees are really missing a lot of stuff at work. They're missing the in-person conversations. 61% of them said that. Regular daily structure of reporting to the work site. 42% of people said that that was really important to them. The lunch and the happy hours, that was 40%. Reduced interruptions by kids during the workplace, 37% said that. So people were happy to go work from home. And if you had a family, work with your family, but that is shifting now. We're over a year past that. And people like the convenience of being at work and having access to their technology, and they want that change. And so that's putting a lot of pressure on employers. Executives have 4 major concerns right now. The first one is, how are we going to bring our employees back? And then those that are coming back, what's their well-being like? How are they feeling? Are they struggling with burnout? People aren't going to be coming back with this huge feeling of relaxation from a vacation. We all have struggled for quite some time. And the third issue that they're struggling with is, what's employee engagement going to look like? How are we going to bring the water cooler conversations back? How do we create trust again in the organization? And again, this challenge is putting a lot of pressure on HR, on the HR function, specifically because of how to bring people back, how to address the well-being, how to address the employee engagement. But most importantly, there's a huge significant shift in digitalization as to how we functioned as a remote workforce. And so now those folks who are looking to change positions within their organization, and those folks who are out of work looking to get a job, are now facing recruiting remotely with an organization that you're not going to probably meet for a while. You're just going to meet them virtually. And so this puts a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of change going on in how organizations are looking at recruiting. And we felt that this was an important way to present the tools and tips that we're going to present to you in the presentation today. Also, vaccination and getting vaccinated and coming back to work has also triggered a lot of discussions within organizations. And so understanding your position, where you fall around that, will be important as you think about your next steps.
Great, thank you, Cliff. So we're going to start off with the unemployment self-check, starting from ground zero. And thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you a reflection board of different pictures. And I want you to use that reflection board. Just take like a minute or two to write about a picture, which you're going to select, that represents for you a metaphor of being at this ground zero place. So let's get onto the board of pictures, Ileana, and everybody in the group just pick a picture that represents for you the metaphor of being at ground zero, and just write a little bit about a couple of bullet points about what that represents for you. We'll give you about a minute or two. Okay, so anyone to volunteer who wants to come off mute and just share which picture they chose and what it represents in terms of ground zero. How about you, Maud? Maud Moore.
Hi, I keep on looking at the world, in space, and it makes me think of how beautiful it is, and also, it's sometimes it's scary, but also incredibly fascinating to start at the bottom again, or to start a new, fresh pivot, and the world is your oyster in a way.
That's beautiful, Maud. Thank you for sharing that. You're absolutely right. It's kind of taking the abundance perspective and being hopeful about what you can create or recreate in your future. Thank you for sharing that. How about Lydia?
Hi. I was looking at the baseball. I always say that job hunting is like waiting for that right pitch to come in and you can strike that home run.
Excellent. I love that. All right, let's try one more. Andrea Velasquez, how about you? You're on mute.
So first I was looking at the world, but I like to be by the water. So for me, it would be sitting by the dock, and just endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities. Great. So these are all very, very positive things being at ground zero. Doesn't always have to be necessarily in the negative. I love what you've shared. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ileana, would you just go to the next slide? After that one. Yeah. So if we look at it, there's kind of two different things here. It's help. I'm looking for a job. Now what do I do? Best thing, just take a deep breath. And first you remember you aren't alone, okay? There's also the help. I've decided on making a change within my company. Where do I go from here? And it's time to take action. So we're going to start looking at different tools that are going to help you address where you go to from ground zero. And with that, I'm going to pass on to Chris from PIXI. Actually, my apologies. Liana, can you pass to the next slide? Okay, what we're going to do now, actually, before I pass on to Chris, is we are going to, if you go on to the next slide, Ileana, we're going to break you up into groups of 3. And this is really about creating your manifesto. So you've talked about what your feelings are in terms of being at ground zero. Now what we're going to do is help you create that manifesto. So you can see the diagram in front of you. There are literally 3 squares. You have applicable skills, values that drive decision-making, and career milestones. So what we're going to do in those breakout groups is that you're each going to take a little bit of time on a piece of paper, and you are going to fill out your own prompts. So you have these prompts at the bottom. You're going to answer these prompts. So for applicable skills, it's I can, I'm able to. Values that drive decision-making, I believe it's important to. And career milestones, I will and I want to. So you're going to spend some time on your own, and you're going to create those 3 sentences, okay? After that, you're going to share with each other, and you're going to almost kind of workshop each other for 90 seconds each. Each person's going to share their statements in those different boxes, and you're going to workshop them, kind of make comments, get your colleagues' thoughts, ideas. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the main room where everybody is in order to synthesize those into your own personal manifesto. So let me kind of share an example with you as we go into that. If I had to say in my applicable skills, I'm good at organizing. In terms of my values that drive my decision-making, honesty drives me. And if I look at the career milestones, I was the executive assistant to Jeff Bezos. none of those, well, not all of those are true. I wasn't the executive assistant to Jeff Bezos. However, if I was to synthesize that at the end, I would say I'm a passionate planner. I felt my work with Jeff Bezos defined me and brings honesty into everything I do. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at. So in the breakout rooms, you're going to fill out the first 3 blocks. You're going to workshop it with each other. And then you're going to come back to the main session so that we can synthesize those and share them with each other. So Laura, is it possible to send people into breakouts of 3?
Absolutely.
And they also have a slide that they can go, the slide can go with them into their breakouts.
All right, everybody is on their merry way.
Is there a way to share the prompts and that in the chat? Or are you able to share it with their
Ileana's going to
PowerPoint?
do that. I just sent her the description from your notes.
Okay, because
She's
I
going to
sent
write it in
a slide.
Yeah.
I don't know why the breakouts are closing.
I don't know why either. Did someone click close breakout rooms?
That might have been me. I apologize.
They need 9 minutes in the breakouts.
Yes. However, they've been closed, so everyone's going to come back.
We better send them back again.
And then we're going to send them back into their rooms.
For some reason, I can't copy the instructions, Cliff. It's not letting me.
What?
It's not letting me copy your chat.
I'll text it to you.
That's not going to help.
We're finished with the breakout room. It took me out.
Sorry, yes, we're putting people back in. Apologize. Oh, you sent it as an image. I can't send images. I don't think, do they have the slide?
I sent it to you, Ileana, in a separate document. I sent you one slide that you could put into the breakouts.
I can't do that.
Uh-huh.
I can only text, like physically write things down.
Did you know that we got back in the main room already?
We're going to have to bring them back because they have no idea what they need to do.
No, we went to the breakout room and then like 60 seconds, the time was counting down. We were in the middle of the discussion and we were brought back to this main room right now watching you.
Yes.
You're supposed to be in a breakout room.
Yeah, but we were pulled back. I don't know why.
That's okay. I think, yeah, let's just go to,
And can we take this photo off the screen so that we don't see the instructions, because it's, I guess you can't copy it into the
Oh,
room.
sorry. Yes, I was trying
Yeah.
to.
Awesome.
So then do we pull them back?
Yes, we'll be pulling them back.
And something's happened. The screen's enlarged. I don't know what's happening here. Okay.
So do I need to reshare my screen?
I think we're just going to pull them back and just see how many people managed to actually have the conversation and how many can pull the manifesto together.
There's 20 seconds on those breakout rooms.
Okay, great. All right, everybody's back. For the people who are back, and we're sorry you got flipped out of the room and back into the room, did anyone manage to have the conversation? Can actually take yourself off mute and share with us what came up for you? Who can share? Somebody who managed to do it, please take yourself off mute, because otherwise I'm going to pick on you, and I don't know if you've managed to do it. Anybody?
I'll go.
Do a thumbs up or thumb. Who's that?
My name is Ravi.
Hi there. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so I got a wonderful opportunity to have a breakout session with Chad and Claudette, and we all three shared our the things based on what we have. We all spent around like 40 seconds each, and it was a good thing to first know the wonderful strength that I got out of this 2-minute period is that regardless, I can connect with people, at least learn from them. That's the opportunity I got. Yeah, I shared about my skill, which is I can code and I have the ability to mentor. And my value is honesty and integrity, as well as my career milestone would be get into a leadership position. So that's all.
Beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And so now if you had to synthesize all those sentences into one sentence, and just because of time, what I want everybody to do is to take your 3 sentences, and as I showed in the example, I want you to synthesize those 3 nodes into your own personal manifesto, because that is a personal manifesto that you can use. Okay? All right, so right now, can everybody just take a big team breath? And I am going to pass this on to Cliff. We're going to talk about charting your career path and creating a measured plan of action.
Sure, Natalie, thank you. When you talk about charting your career path,
Sorry, which slide?
We're going to slide, the heading says slide 3 in the top right corner, charting your career path.
Wait, hold on, Cliff. Could I share talking about soft skills before we go on to pyramid number 3? Yeah, or section number 3.
That's
hey guys. Great. Yeah, hello everybody again. So to continue with the topic on the importance of self-evaluation, I actually wanted to briefly discuss the differences between hard skills and soft skills. So it's like Ravi had mentioned, he had his hard skills of coding and also the soft skills of mentorship, right? knowing your skills is actually the best starting place to strategize your unique job hunting process. So as many of us know, hard skills are actually the abilities that can easily be quantified. These are skills like computer programming or Excel proficiency. They can also be recognized as educational degrees or certificates that someone acquires. On the other hand, soft skills, or what many HR professionals call essential skills, they're a bit more nebulous. They're the competencies that are related to interpersonal abilities that have traditionally been hard to quantify. These are things like communication, adaptability, creativity, time management, and cultural sensitivity. They're different from personality traits, which more encompass innate behavior patterns like being an extrovert versus an introvert. So personality traits more or less cannot be learned and may actually change throughout our lifetime due to our unique life experiences. Soft skills or essential skills are more like hard skills in that they can be learned, practiced, and developed over time. So that being said, it's easier for many of us to know how to attain or showcase our hard skills. So I want to place the focus on what we can do to understand our own soft skills so that we can utilize that understanding to give us an edge when we're applying for jobs, right? More than ever before, employers are now looking to identify these essential soft skills in their job candidates, as hiring talent with these abilities bring high-performing and workplace culture building individuals that will maximize productivity and workplace happiness. So like LinkedIn's 2019 Global Trends Report tells us that 92% of hiring managers believe that soft skills are either more or just as important as hard skills. Furthermore, Deloitte released in that same year a report about 30% of companies currently using AI during their recruitment process, and that by 2025, more than 60% of companies will do the same. So that's why over at Pigsci, we have built an AI-powered platform that enables job seekers, you guys, as well as recruiters to easily identify and assess those soft skill competencies. As a result, I think it would then behoove us to understand what our soft skills are. So who here has heard interview questions like, how do you prioritize your work? Or tell me about a challenge or conflict you faced at work and how you dealt with it. Can I get a quick yes in the chat box if you've heard questions like this?
Yes.
Awesome, thanks guys. So knowing your soft skills can help you frame your answers to questions like this, to positively showcase your interpersonal abilities to recruiters. So now you might be thinking, okay, Chris, that sounds good and all, but what would that even look like? I'll actually show you this by answering that challenge conflict question. One time, I had a conflict in a previous job as I was working with teammates that were more used to traditional Korean workplace values. I'm Korean. Being born in the US, I was more used to an American way of doing things that placed value more on individual expression. My coworkers were more used to promoting values of group alignment and adhering to a hierarchy. So individual expression and ideating change, they felt, should be instituted only once they reached a management position. Until then, they felt that aligning with the group is the best way to work together. As a result, at times there would be friction. I soon realized that there was a fundamental lack of understanding behind each other's intent. To address this, I really wanted to take the time to understand where everyone was coming from and talk to both my peers and superiors about figuring out how to best work with each other. So as a result, I took the initiative to schedule a time for all of us to meet to explain what our personal goals were in respect to our collective goals. During this meeting, I pointed out to them that the values that everyone here holds are not better or worse than each other's, so that we can amalgamate all of these values together to make an uplifting environment so that we can all achieve what we want. So by intentionally creating a safe space to voice our thoughts, we learned about each other's intents behind our actions. And so we ended up finding common ground in that all of us wanted to do what we thought was best for the team and company. This then turned into monthly meetings so that we could all ground ourselves with one another to continually figure out how to optimize our teamwork. So like that was my sample response that I gave. And so by knowing my soft skills of adaptability, cultural sensitivity, and teamwork, right? There's a whole bunch of soft skills. There's like 40 plus of them. I was able to frame my answer in a way that highlighted those skills. So, Aristotle says that the intersection where the world's needs and our talents cross, therein lies our calling or our vocation, right? Thus, knowing our talents during the job hunt is crucial. Understanding what our soft skill talents can help tremendously when looking for a new job or seeking a promotion. So to help you do the self-evaluation, over at PIXI, we created a workbook. It's titled Soft Skills Self-Identification and Assessment. So you see that little picture right there on the screen where the PowerPoint is. This workbook will help you identify your foundational soft skills, and it will help you to validate your own abilities to not only increase self-awareness, but ultimately allow you to showcase your value to recruiters and consciously grow your skills throughout your career. So for the next few weeks, we're actually providing this resource for free on our platform. To access it, you just need to create a free account on pixi.com, and it'll be available to you through our educational resources section. Yep, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to chat or have any questions. Would be willing to do so. I believe Laura put my LinkedIn URL in the chat box. So thank you so much for listening. I'll pass it back to Natalie or Cliff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the lead here. So we're going to, Ileana, if we can flip past Flippity and go right to charting your career path. The idea here is we want to take the tools that we're providing you and allow you to actionalize them all. So let's flip to the next slide called Understanding Where You Want to Go. By looking at yourself internally and helping you come up with your own manifesto, and then also taking the tools that Chris has talked about with soft skills, now you're able to put something together that is very concrete. And you need to be able to answer the question, what do I need to get out of my next job? And I've listed here a couple of bullets that you could consider. So as we think about ourselves now working from home for a year and a half and considering a new position or going back to the office, your work-life balance today has been very different than it was before COVID. And what does that work-life balance mean? A lot of people have said, I would commute an hour to work before COVID, but now that you are working from home, the thought of commuting an hour each way to work is daunting. And so really tackling what do I want to get out of my next job and feeling very comfortable about it is the next step in terms of where you want to go. Maybe better pay is important to you right now because of your family situation or your independent living situation. I want to be upwardly mobile. I need to be a better networker. I want to reduce my stress. I'm tired of doing the same thing that I've been doing for the last 15 years, and now I want to do something different. So it's important now, since you have your manifesto, and like Chris said, it's important to identify what your soft skills are, and the workbook will be very, very helpful. Understanding where you want to go and picking one priority will guide you and be very important in your next career direction decision. Sometimes those decisions or that direction you want to go gets gray when you have a couple of different important components. And what we're suggesting is pick one that's the most important. And it doesn't have to be 100% of the time or 100% of the objective, but it should be at least 70%. So if you're saying that better pay is the most important thing, which is 70% of my decision in terms of my next goal, you focus on that and build your profile, your resume, your background, your conversations with your manager or your conversations with your new prospective employer around that, and let them know that that is really important to you, because that will help them make a decision as to whether they can meet that objective for you. Then the remaining 30% are other key important things that are important, but they're not going to push you over the edge for that specific position. If pay is it, that is how you should be making your decision. Let's move on to the next slide. And we need a little bit of soft music here so everybody can get into the mode of thinking of a measured plan. Thank you, thank you. So as we think about our measured plan of action, we're going to try and be very, very specific here. The more specific you can be, the easier it's going to be able to focus on your job search and be able to knock out the types of jobs that are going to distract you and maybe not be in line with your manifesto and not be in line with the most important component to be able to make the job choice. So we're going to take you through a little bit of an exercise here where you can come up with something that's really specific for you and look at that job objective, maybe broaden it a little bit. And even if you don't have the credentials to support that job objective, it might be something that you're looking to achieve and get to, either in your current role or in a role outside of your organization. So if you could flip to the next slide, please. So I'm going to give you an example here to define your job objective, and that will help you see that when you start thinking about your job objective, this gives you a framework to follow. So let's all read on the screen. My objective is to find a job as a senior level cost accountant. I want to use my strong analytical and people skills, my CPA, and 7 years of cost experience to help my next employer find ways to improve its bottom line and to progress and ultimately to get to a VP of finance and accounting. And so I'd like everybody to take a minute with the soft music playing, unless we aren't able to do that, and think in your head about your next role and define that objective so that you can completely wrap your arms around it. Now, yes, we're giving you a really quick amount of time to do this, but if you can't come up with it today, that's fine. But hopefully this example will give you a tool or a path to come up with that objective. And you might need to go back a couple of times to refine it and reframe it. But again, we're trying to create a path to getting a great job that you're going to be successful at and your next role within the organization. And so adding your specific job objective to this process will help you articulate it to your existing manager and be able to say, this is what I'm looking for next. Can you help me get there? Or help me identify the skill gap in order for me to find ways to improve your bottom line if we're using our cost accounting example. And so being able to articulate what you really want in your job, in your next role, will help you then put it all together on paper, define your brand, all that other kind of stuff that comes with looking for a job. So let's all take a minute to do that and spend some time thinking quietly what your job objective would look like. Okay, great. We're coming up to a minute. So if everybody could wrap up their thought process about their objective, and we can now move on to the next slide, which is putting your work into an action plan. So just taking a step back, let's bring us to where we are right now. We defined our manifesto, looked at what our career goals should be. We understood what the importance of identifying our soft skills and how that's going to help us get an edge in our career choices. We went through an exercise of understanding what the job objectives should look like and putting a specific framework around it. And then also what I want to get out of my next job. And now we're at the place where you're going to put this all into action. And that is through your resume. We all know that that has changed today. The resume is not the only thing that the companies are looking at or managers are looking at. They're also looking at experience. They're also looking at your flexibility. They're looking at where you're inflexible. They're looking at what type of environments fit your life. And you need to be able to understand all of those and be able to answer those questions when you're asked them in the interview process, or identify them specifically on your resume. Besides your resume, you also now have a LinkedIn profile, which is strongly recommended and suggested for how you present yourself. But you also want to spend some time thinking about your personal mission statement, because you have a personal brand. And now we have lots of tools around us to build that brand. We never had that before if we were looking for jobs 25 years ago. We really just had the resume. And if somebody took the extra steps to put a portfolio together, or if you're looking for a creative type role, you might have designed stuff where you can bring it to the interview to show who you were as a type of candidate. But now we have these technology tools where we can record video, we can show our work, we can show who's endorsed us, we can show who recommends us, we can show where we're linked and where we're connected and what interests us before a manager even interviews you. So that is something that is creating your personal brand and your personal mission statement. And that's something you should spend some time doing and thinking about, because it plays into how you're going to present yourself and what you want to share to the outside world. The most important takeaway from this slide specifically is the last point. And that is, depending on where you are in your career or career life cycle, we have inherently been taught to present what we have done to show how we're accomplished. But now we're suggesting that people consider thinking about what you can do and what you want to do and present it that way. So being a little bit pushy, instead of presenting yourself to a manager or a job by saying, this is what I've done, and this is how it matches to the skill set that you're looking for. We're suggesting, because of these outside tools that are available to us, and be able to show who we really are, including the soft skills that a manager would now have access to because they didn't have access to it before, share what you can do and what you want to do and include that in your resume. If we can go to the next slide, that would be great. So here is where you start putting pen to paper by writing your accomplishments. And thank you, Chad, for asking that great question about what a can-do statement would look like. We will get some of those together. I think we can easily do that after this presentation and share it because that helps people think about what you can do, along with also what we've put here on the screen about writing your accomplishments. And when you are putting statements down on your resume, there are three main themes that you should consider as to how you write. Begin with an action verb, follow it with the result of what you did, and then explain briefly what you did. So we've given the example here of increased volume by 5.1% through organic blah, 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 through organic growth. Achieved $3+ million in total revenues. And then the last box is showing how I did that. And this gives you a framework for how to write your accomplishments, and giving your reader more depth as to what you have done and what you've accomplished. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt, who's going to share with you folks about the thought process around career exploration and looking at how you evaluate your soft skills and understand what those are. So if you could flip to the next slide, thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. So mostly I'll be talking about resumes and video interviewing. And however, before I start, I want to introduce you to this word ikigai. And some of you might look at it and say, Kurt, this is ALPFA, which means Association of Latinos and Latinas. And why am I showing you a Japanese word? Besides the fact that it's a pretty cool word, there's a meaning behind it, and it's a reason for being, right? You might wonder also, why am I bringing this up, and how does this relate to getting a job, getting hired, or even hiring someone? And besides the fact that I've probably been hanging out way too much with psychologists during the pandemic, there's some reasons why. Have you ever wondered why companies, after all these years, companies are still, quote unquote, making bad hires? And conversely, why there's so many job candidates that tend to take, quote unquote, bad jobs? And I can conclude by saying that if they learn the concepts behind ikigai and apply this within job search, and also in terms of evaluating and bringing on, in the company's perspective, new talent, some of these problems will be solved. Now, let me take the perspective of a job seeker or job hunter and take a look at this chart in front of you. I'm going to start from left to right. Now, I'll just cover three things. You're in a job and you're doing what you really love, all right? You're really good at it and you're well paid for it, but it's not useful to the rest of the world. What that leaves you is satisfied but feeling useless. Let's jump to the second one there. You're doing what you really love, you're good at it, and the world needs it, but you're not getting paid for it or properly paid for it. What that does is you're delighted and you feel fulfilled, but unfortunately you're broke. Let's jump to the bottom left. You're good at your job, the world needs it, you're well paid, but you don't love it. And what that does, it leaves you comfortable, but bored and feeling empty on the inside. So what does this all mean? Sooner or later, majority of us do look for a job. And it's important to us to make sure that we do find that reason for being in the job. And this goes along with what Cliff was saying before. What's the reason behind why you're looking for a job? For the majority of folks, does it pay? And you can see from this chart that that's just not enough. On the employer perspective, I really do challenge employers to hire and look for people, or look to align the company's values really with the ikigai of those who work within your organization. If you find out what a person's purpose is, what they love, what they're really good at, how they view their job in the context of the world around them and their communities. And then more importantly, pay them a competitive salary for it. So on both spectrum, the job seeker and the employers keeping these concepts in mind will actually yield better results in the long run. Right? You'll have more satisfied people who are retained in companies longer. The goal really in life, as I see it from, just learning from this chart, is really finding that balance, and that's that middle ground, unshaded region, right? Within those concentric circles. And you probably actually discover a flower of life when you actually find that. So look for that middle ground. Now this chart, don't worry about jotting down everything in here. We have actually created a handout that will send it out to anyone who's registered. And we'll send that out to you. There's also an interesting section in there that will allow you to figure out what your ikigai is, especially in the context of finding your job, your next job. So we have some sections that will allow you to kind of cross-reference the things that you love and find that middle ground between the things you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you're going to get paid for. And I want to switch to, real quickly, the next slide and talk a little bit about resumes. Truth is, I actually don't like resumes. I'll be honest with you. Personally, I feel like resumes, they do introduce a lot of unconscious biases. And the world as we know it, though, and companies are not going to go away from resumes anytime. So as a wise person once told me, if you can't beat them, you can't get rid of them, you find a way to live with them. So resumes, what I will do, however, is just leave you with 3 quick points and takeaways from resumes that I think will be valuable to you. First, it's not so much what is on your resume, but it's more so what's interpreted from your resume. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say the average recruiter gets a resume that says the person graduated from an Ivy League school. Let's use Harvard for example. Now, I'll ask all of you, what's interpreted from something like that? And you can feel free to put that in the chat or just say it out loud. Person who graduates from Ivy League school, what's interpreted? Most people might say smart, right? And that's the first thing that popped up here, prestige. Some of you might say, well, maybe they had parents that could pay for their education. And we know there's a whole discussion on that. But in most of these cases, you are right? It's smart, it's prestige, it's money. That's what's really interpreted behind your resume. What that actually truly means is that view your resume. Resume really is all about psychology. And it's you really understanding the psychology of how your resume is interpreted that actually gives you a huge advantage. There's so many different ways that you can actually learn about that psychology. You can find keywords, those words within your the job description that will tell you. You can also learn from the company portals, their company main website. And since recruiters are going to be researching you anyway, then you might as well do some homework to research them and understand the psychology of how they think and understand the psychology of who they're looking for and why. And that's what PICSI actually really does in our soft skill assessment, video assessment tool. Second thing I want to point out is about resumes, if it does not positively boost your resume, just simply remove it. Sometimes less is more. Drop the half pages if you can, the 1.5 pages, or 2.5 pages. Reduce them to 1 if you can, or reduce them to 2. The reason for that is, again, it's psychology. It's how we all think as people, right? Half pages makes you feel and look a little bit incomplete, is what I've learned. So definitely keep them to full pages. I'll also point out that recruiters sometimes look for reasons to eliminate candidates as opposed to reasons to include their resume. That's another weird psychology where we tend to gravitate more towards bad news, and hence the news networks, that's how they make a living. Third thing I'll point out about resume, you want to put your most memorable and impressive things about you first. In my opinion, your resume should not be that time where you start out with the small stuff and build up to all the juicy stuff. And don't worry about being chronological also. Just put your best out there. And there's a reason for that. Industry research says that recruiters spend an average of 6 seconds to look at your resume. So it literally means you have 6 seconds to impress someone. So put your best foot forward. Now, beyond resume, moving forward, second item here is mock interviews and video interviewing for that matter. You always want to be prepared for an interview. And in preparing for an interview, sometimes we ask our friends to give us some mock interviews. And what we've essentially learned, especially since COVID, is most companies are actually turning to online interviewing, all right? And it's both asynchronous, where it's all automated. You are essentially talking to an AI, or you're pre-recording your answers. Or it could be synchronous, where you're on Zoom and the recruiter as well as yourself is there. So what you want to do is try to get as comfortable as you possibly can to practice these mock interviews and do them online. We have some blogs on our websites that will help you to understand how even your environment is an important aspect when you are video interviewing, and practice these things in your mock interview. So what we've done at PIXI, actually, we do have a free mock interview tool that you can use. We also have a free resume building tool that you could use. We do upsell some services there if you're looking for professional reviews on your resume or your mock interview. But one of the beauties about the tool that I'm about to show you that we have is, regardless of requesting a professional review, you can also share these interviews with your friends. So there's a peer review, and it's also free and built in a platform. So you can have as many friends as you can. Just actually go there, look at your responses to industry question as well as job specific question, and get their feedback. And with that said, Laura, if you don't mind playing that video for me, I'll give everyone a quick demo of what those tools look like. All right, great. So what we have here is a typical profile page that everyone who logs in and creates an account will have. You'll notice you have an opportunity to build out pretty much information, your profile information, very synonymous to what you will find in LinkedIn. There's your menu up top that gives you an opportunity to scroll through just some of the different features that are presented. And from your profile information, you can essentially create multiple copies of your resume. We have different templates in here. Here's a sample of a student template, but opportunity to choose from different professional looking resumes to fun resumes. And I'll quickly click over to the your mock interview practice page. So creating a mock interview is relatively easy. You do a search for your job title, or a job title that's most closest to the position that you're looking for, and you choose your experience level. And we'll walk you through the stages. Now, this dashboard actually just gives you a list of all your mock interviews that you've performed, all right? You can do a self-evaluation, as you see here, where there are specific industry questions that are asked, or interview questions. You can give feedback and grade yourself, and give yourself a score. Same process goes for peer reviews. So you can invite as many of your peers as possible to evaluate your video interview. And here's an example of the results or score broken down. We do apply some AI in here to evaluate some things in terms of your video responses, but you see a full drill down in terms of those soft skills that Chris had mentioned earlier on, all categorized. And this is essentially how recruiters are going to view your interviews when they look at. Now, here's an example of a professional review which follows actually the same process, and you'll see as we're jumping through here, all questions are categorized into individual questions as well as soft skill category questions. All right. Now, if you want to learn what each item is that you're being evaluated on, there's also a quick information tag that will allow you to understand how recruiters view your responses and what essentially they are looking for. And I'll pause there and I'll say thanks. We are going to be, as Cliff had mentioned, raffling off some tickets for premium subscriptions to this product at the end of this session. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, and I'll move back over to Natalie or Cliff.
Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it. As we get to the end of our workshop tonight, I wanted to share with you just some thoughts as we finish up. Looking for another job or changing roles in your organization is very competitive. And so be ready for the competition if you haven't jumped into the process yet. Having the best advantage to beat your competition is also very important. And so we will provide some detailed tools and tricks and tips at our second workshop, where we're going to talk about how to have a fantastic interview. And in the meantime, while you think about some other ways to beat the competition, consider taking a look at your soft skills and identifying where you're strong and where you're not strong. And with that 6 seconds that a recruiter has to judge you, you try and figure out who you are in 6 seconds and what you would want that recruiter to really focus on, and then build everything you want around that. There is another important thing that Kurt had mentioned earlier, and that has to do with the Ikigai, where you know what your reason for being is, and you also could spend some time identifying the corporate culture that you're looking at and see how much your reason for being matches the corporate culture, and filter that into part of your evaluation of the organization. The way you can figure out the pieces of what the corporate culture is they're embedded in the job description, the words that are written and used in the job description. And it just takes a bunch of analysis of reading that job description over and over and over and looking for words that define the organization. Those will be descriptive words that they include in the job description. And then you're also going to want to look at the company portal and see if those words are similar there, because that will, again, give you a better perspective of whether what's important to you is aligned with what the organization is going to be able to offer you. So if we could flip to the next slide, which is just a little bit of a homework assignment, just to summarize what we've covered today. Do the self-evaluation, understand where you want to go. Sometimes people do a weighted criteria for their next job. So if improving your salary is number one, having a better commute, having a better work-life balance, just put a percentage next to each of those and see where the job falls. And just by creating a very simple matrix in Excel, gives you a statistical way of looking at how close you fit to that job. Make sure you get your job objective down, like we talked about earlier, and then use the resume tool in PixEye to help you build a resume that looks good for you, and write your accomplishments and use the tools that we provided today as to how to come up with what to write and how to write it well. There's also the white paper that PixEye has put together, which we'll share with everyone. So, and that will be very, very helpful. So, thank you and goodbye. It was really great to present to all of you. We hope that this session provided you with some great tools and resources to rethink about where you're going in the future, where you fit in with the organizations that are hiring today, and be able to beat that competition and get the job that you want. So thank you again. Thank you on behalf of Circle Strategies and PixEye. We appreciate your time. And I'm now going to turn it over to Laura Regos Alvarez, who is the who is the director of Women of ALPFA.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cliff, and thank you so much to the whole team presenting today. We are so excited to be able to partner with both PIXI and Circle strategies for this career development series. So as you mentioned earlier, Cliff, we had a raffle for the resume review tool from PIXI, and I'm going to announce the winner. So I wish we had a drum roll. So Indra Gandhi, Chad Brandon, Maud Moore, Rosario Vasquez, and Armand Adandi. You have all won the raffle for today. So we will be using the emails that you use in your registration to contact you. So congratulations. And I know we are at time, so I'll just wrap it up very quickly. Please make sure that you're following Alpha Boston in all of our social media accounts to stay up to date on our latest content and upcoming events. And please join us for the next installment of the Career Development Series happening on May 13th. We'll be talking about how to ace the interview. We have put the link in the chat, but if you are following social media, if you attended this event, you'll also get the link. And that concludes the event for the evening. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope to see you all in the next event.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, guys. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. That's awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ingrid. Bye.